Okay, folks, back to Carville's classroom. So I'm going to think out loud. We're going to periodically do some of these. We approach the campaign. And when I think out loud, I remember something that Steve Bannon said right as Trump was taking office in January 2017. He said, "We're just going to flood the zone with shit." Well, guess what? The zone is flooded and we're drowning in shit. That's exactly where we are. And Bannon, I don't think, knew that Trump shit in his pants, but there's shit everywhere. Shit here, shit there, shit everywhere. So what do? The guy's got 91 indictments. He's been adjudicated by a court of law to, in the common parlance of the word, rape a woman. He's an adjudicated business fraud. He's costs, I don't know, according to the Lancet, the British Medical Journal, something 400,000 lives lost as a result of his policies during COVID. He's appointed more criminals and idiots and incompetents to the United States government than any three presidents combined. I mean, I could go on and on and on. He's denigrated every ethnic, racial, gender that you can think of. And our zone is flooded with shit. This is just the problem. So we're a little bit, as I like to say, we're a little bit like a mosquito in a nudist colony. There's all kinds of big, juicy butts out there, but you really got to kind of pick one out and land on it. And the problem when the zone is flooded with shit, if you say 10 different things, you say nothing. And in order for a message, a communications, a negative thread, an attack to work, it has to be relentless, it has to be repetitive, and it has to have a common thread to it. So to just say, well, he raped a woman, he stole, he cheated on his taxes, he did this, he cost lives, he was negligent, and you just your sensory overload. So you just people don't tend to hear anything. And the big thing that we got to do is figure out a narrative as to how to deflood the zone with shit and get it to a point where people can understand it. And something happened in the last week that I think is very, very significant, because you get so many things about Trump, you can't remember them all. It's just the circuit. We got to put the circuit breaker on. So Trump, people don't like China. That they think that China cheats, that they take out patents, that they're unfair competition, and I'm sure that there's a justification for this. And people also don't like big tech companies. These are the bully kids that put all kind of lies online. There's no filter. There's no anything. They make a fortune. And China and big tech are two very unpopular things. And Trump got in on the deal. He kind of understood that, you know. And the TikTok is a Chinese company. It's also huge tech operation used for all kinds of things. And Trump was against TikTok until they had a TikTok with the Mar-a-Lago. And frankly, in my view and other people, I think it actually happened, some money changed hands. That the TikTok people were going to agree to buy Truth Social. A lot of speculation about this. I think this story is developing, and I think we all know which way it's going to go. So how do you package this attack, and how do you package it in a way that makes sense and that has a sense of continuity with other attacks and other Trump vulnerabilities? As those of you in my class know, I'm a big believer in biblical narratives because I don't think there's really not much new in terms of narratives than there is in the Bible. And I would recommend anybody that wants a career in political consulting, if they go to college, or your nephew or your niece or whatever it is, tell them I would really advise that they take a study in the Bible as literature, or biblical narratives, or something like that. And Trump is viewed as this kind of theological figure. We talked about it before, but I'll repeat it. He's King Cyrus. He's King David. He's flawed, but he's sent to redeem us. And he's delivering us from the throes of Chinese domination, the tech companies, the coastal elites, all of the things that conspire to give you a life that you think is worse than it should be. However these fucking people think. And if you want it in keeping with his narrative, I think it's important, and we do, I really do. Another big biblical narrative is betrayal. So the way that I think we should look at this, and I'm going to be looking in the comment section for some illumination, maybe some further idea. You had reasons to distrust China. You had reasons to be highly skeptical of huge tech companies and the bad effects that they can have from anything from young people on, crazy people, everything in the world is on that. And you actually believe Trump. And I'm not going to blame you for that. I'm not going to blame you for that. But he betrayed you. He betrayed you in an hour. You understand that in 1 hour, he ditched the whole anti-China thing. He ditched the whole tech thing and embraced TikTok. So you're going to notice me when I do media appearances, about every 45 seconds, I'm going to say, TikTok, TikTok, TikTok. I do it with my kids. I'd swing them when they were a little girl. Tick-tock, Marjorie Dock, Emerson is the clock. Tick-tock. Right? Because the story of TikTok is the story of Trump's betrayal. And when you open people's eyes to that, then they'll allow you some space in their heads to bring up all of the other things that he's done. And I think there's 26 women who have credibly accused him of sexual improprieties, everything from rape to I don't know what else. And he betrayed them. He's betrayed the United States. He's betrayed his supporters. He's betrayed the oath of office. He was sworn to uphold the Constitution, to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. Those words mean nothing to him. Zero. And the evidence in that is he betrayed you on TikTok. So you come in, you create a larger narrative, then that allows you to come in underneath. And once you do that, people have a context and their minds can digest and sort out all of these different attacks that are coming. And right now, if I watch MSNBC or I read sensible, well-written, well-edited, well-researched, well-fact-checked sites, I'm reading 100 different things. And so you just become numb by it. And I'm flushing this out in my mind. I will probably revisit this again in future classrooms. But it's very important that we just don't have a scattershot, just throw spaghetti at the wall and hope in 20 attacks that something sticks. And you have to stick with it. And the Biden people have to understand, and they have to get into this narrative. Talking heads like myself have to get into this. Democratic organizations that are in support of this thing, and super PACs and PACs and everything that you got out there, labor unions we have got to settle on a narrative here. And this is why his favorability number, in spite of all of this, is not great, but it really doesn't decline, because we're not giving people something that they can latch on to. We're not, or something that they can pivot to look to other issues or anything that you want to call it. We need a narrative. We need a story, because at the end of the day, all we are storytellers. And every story has to have, every story ever told, you start out, you meet people, you make a value judgment, then there's a conflict, and then it goes on, and at the end there's a resolution. So The Godfather, you meet them, and they're all kind of cooking pasta into you, Sonny and Michael and Fredo and, I don't know, The Godfather and Luca Brasi and the Turk or whatever. And then the Turk shoots the Godfather. The whole thing is the conflict, and at the end, Michael kills everybody. Every story has the same thing. So it's very important that we take I read my kids. What's about Winnie the Pooh? You had the 100-Acre Wood, and you had Tigger, or you had Tiglet, or you had Charles Rob, whatever, and it was all the same thing. You met all the people in 100-Acre Wood. When he lost his honey, all went look for it, and then Charles Robert, or whoever the fuck his name is, comes in and finds it, and everybody is forever happy in the 100-Acre Wood. It's the same thing, all right? Set up, conflict, resolution. So Trump comes along. He doesn't talk like other politicians. He's different. He says things differently. And you hear people say, well, I like the fact he doesn't talk the same. Kurt Anderson, who I think is the best commentator in the United States, all right? And I saw Kurt at the New Orleans Book Festival, and he told me there was I think it must have been in New York, and there was a cartoon of two sheep looking at a wolf in like an art gallery. And one of the sheep tells the other sheep, yeah, but he talks differently. All right? That's the essence of this. So we got to, it's okay to consider, well, talks different. He sounds different. But at the end of the day, he's not even like the rest of the politicians. He's worse than they are. All right? Because he promised you something different. You believed him. And he did worse than that. He took the money and ran and embraced China, embraced tech, embraced TikTok. And you got to let this narrative fester out there and develop itself. And, I love to visit with y'all and talk about how he shits in his pants. I still think the guy's got syphilis, okay? And if he wants to prove me wrong, he can release the medical records that his goons came in and stole from his internist. But the chances that you're ever going to see those medical records are beyond less than zero. So I'm going to try to be a little more focused here to talk about the narrative and how we penetrate. Because right now, I don't see much evidence that Trump has not great favorables, but they're not declining. And I think it's fair to say that we're not breaking through. There's 1,000 segments on cable TV. There's 1,000 blogs. There's 1,000 newspaper articles. There's 1,000 long-form journalism, and they're all compelling and interesting, but they don't stick because it's overload. The zone is flooded with shit. So as we go forward, we're going to try to dig through some of this shit and get to the bottom of a narrative that works, that people understand. And it's not going to do any good to tell you, how could you vote for that stupid ass, fat, fuck, criminal, rapist, business cheat? And then when you say that, they're going to be defensive. Well, what are you talking about? He's different. They all do the same thing. No, you got to overcome that. This one is different. And it's going to take some discipline. It's going to take a lot of repetition. It might take some tweaking of the message here and there, building on it, but you got to start. And it's one of my favorite sayings. It's kind of cliche-ish, but it's also true. The best time to plant an oak tree was 25 years ago. The second best time is right now. I mean, we should have settled on this narrative some time ago, and it's going to be hard to get buy-in because everybody wants to do something different and do their own thing. And it has to be, I wish the White House had a message enforcer that they could keep people, on the same page at a hymnal or whatever we're talking about. But I think this is very important. I appreciate you spending a little time with me. We're going to expand on this thought. We're going to think about it some more. We're going to develop it as we go forward. And then we're going to push out, and we're going to go on television, and we're going to talk about this, and we're going to write some pieces, and we're going to talk about this. We're going to do videos, and we're going to talk about this. Because I know that it takes a while to break through. And it really takes a while to break through when the zone is flooded with shit. All right. But this is too important not to do it. It's too important not to get started now. So we didn't plant this oak tree 25 years ago, but we're starting to plant this oak tree now. And I'm confident if we do this, it's going to make a difference come November. But the hour is getting late. It's kind of scary out there when you look at some of this stuff. And we got to get started here. And we got to get started on this zone that right now is flooded with shit and dig our way out of this crap. So having said that, I hope I see you next week. I probably will. If not, happy Easter, happy Passover, happy whatever the fuck it is, okay? And we'll be back, and we'll do some more. But right now, it's important that we establish a narrative here. We establish a story arc that fits into everything, and we don't fall for going after this lure over here, that lure over there, and run around. We get central, we get a funnel that we put all of this stuff through so it comes out in a steady stream. Having said that, thank you very much, and we'll probably see you toward the end of the week. Goodbye.